Bengals-Giants Sunday Night Football. Can the Bengals get win number 2 of the 2024 season? Here are my keys to victories. But first, let's talk about the New York Football Giants. Giants come into the season 2-2. Week 1, they lost at home against the Minnesota Vikings 28-6. Week 2, they lost in heartbreaking fashion to the Washington Football Commanders, or the Washington Commanders. I'm going to say the Washington Football Team, but the Commanders are a good football team right now. 21-18. Week 3, they beat the Browns in Cleveland 21-14 or 15. And then week 4, they lost 20-15 at home against the Dallas Cowboys on Thursday Night Football. And then last week, they had an impressive road win at Seattle 29-20. And yeah, Giants are now 2-2. This is not a bad football team. I don't know why some Bengals fans thought that, okay, we got the Giants coming up. This is going to be an easy win. No. Have you seen the 2024 Cincinnati Bengals? Nothing's easy with this team. The Bengals lost to the New England Patriots in week 1. So, Bengals fans out there that are underestimating the New York Giants, let's not do that, because the Giants are a very good football team right now at the moment, okay? As of now, they're a good football team, and you can probably say they are a better football team than the Cincinnati Bengals when it comes to playing defense. I'm not talking about offense, just playing defense as a whole. Now, the Giants are led by Daniel Jones, and when you think about Daniel Jones, you think about a guy that turns the football over. Well, in 2024 so far, through 5 games, Daniel Jones is actually having a really good season. He has passed for 1,138 passing yards, 6 touchdowns to only 3 interceptions. Also, this man can run the football. He has 108 rushing yards as well. Also, the Giants have a really good running game led by not Devin Singletary, but Tyrone Tracy Jr., rookie running back out of Purdue, who had 129 rushing yards on the ground on 18 carries last week in Seattle, averaging 7.2 yards per rush. You know what, the Cincinnati Bengals this year, they can't stop the run. And with Devin Singletary limited with a groin injury, expect Tracy Jr. to get majority of the carries. And that scares me because this running back out of Purdue is kind of shifty, a really fast running back, and a grinder as well. He just gets better as the game goes along. That's why the Giants drafted him. And I really like them coming out of Purdue as well. I was kind of hoping the Bengals would draft him, but hey, we're okay with Chase Brown. So that's all is good for both sides of the team, both teams. But however, the Bengals can't stop the run. They did a good job against Derrick Henry last week, but Lamar Jackson torched the Bengals through the air during the football. Now the Giants have Malik Nabers, stud receiver out of LSU, the rookie first-round draft pick in this year's NFL draft. 35 catches for 386 and 3 touchdowns. Now, Malik Nabers did not play in Seattle last week because of concussion that he suffered late in the Thursday Night Football game loss to the Dallas Cowboys at home 2 weeks ago. Now, Nabers has been in practice, but he hasn't really done much when it comes to being on the team or having his helmet. He's just been on the side doing little things. So the Giants are not sure if Nabers is going to play. Their head coach, Brian Doble, said that they're just going to wait and see. So in my opinion, I believe Malik Nabers is going to be probably a game time decision, but I probably don't see the Giants playing him just because you don't want to mess with a concussion. As a Bengals fan, that helps the defense, but also I really do want Nabers to be out there because you got Jamar Chase, LSU boy, Malik Nabers, LSU. I just want that matchup in Sunday Night Football in prime time. That would be so cool to have that. So hopefully Malik Nabers will get healthy. If he's not, then if I'm a Giants fan, I want my star receiver, my best player on the team to be healthy, because you don't want to play around with concussions, especially with this time of age when it comes to head injuries. And this is your best player, and this is your product, your franchise player. You don't want to mess with that. But also, the Giants got some good receivers on their football team. You got Darius Slayton, who's been in the NFL, it feels like forever. And Wan'Dale Robinson's having a really good season for the Giants as well. So those two can definitely cause headaches to the Bengals defense. I mean, every other team has done that this year so far on the Bengals schedule. And then tight end Dio Johnson, the rookie tight end out of Penn State, who I really like coming out of this year's NFL draft that I wanted the Bengals to get to. He was one of my prospects that I want the Bengals to get from the tight end position. But Daniel Jones is finding Theo Johnson a lot lately in these last two games. So look for him to produce in this football game, and I hope the Bengals have a game plan for Theo Johnson as well. That's a sneaky pick right there if you're doing any betting or fantasy. Theo Johnson. Giants defense, a really good unit. They're led by defensive tackle Dexter Lawrence, who has 6 sacks this year, and the defense as a whole for the New York Football Giants, 22 sacks. A really good defensive line. The Bengals O-line has been really good this year. This is going to be their first big test. I thought last week against the Ravens was their first big test. The Ravens, not a really good pass defense, but Joe Burrow did get sacked, I believe, 3 times in that football game. But I believe that the Giants' defensive line, you can say, is probably better than the Ravens' defensive line right now. That's going to be a big challenge for this Bengals O-line that has been really, really stout this year. So I'm looking forward to watching that matchup in this football game on Sunday night. Linebacker Kayvon Thibodeaux, who is a really good player for the New York Football Giants, had wrist surgery on Wednesday. Now, they're considering him day to day, but I believe the Bengals are going to miss out on Kayvon Thibodeaux. So that's kind of big, but I think that the Giants are still going to create some challenges for the Bengals offense. But for the Giants, not having Thibodeaux is a big deal. They still got Dexter Lawrence, so I hope the Bengals have a good game plan when it comes to offensive line on how to contain him, because he's been really good these first 5 football games for the Giants. Now, for the injuries for the Bengals front, Mike Hilton did not play last week against the Ravens because he suffered a knee injury in the win against the Carolina Panthers. But Mike Hilton was out there in practice this week, and he said that he will be playing. Also, the Bengals had a players meeting after their loss to the Ravens on Sunday that involved Mike Hilton, and they just want to just air out things that's going on, because obviously the Bengals defense has been really, really bad the first 5 games of the season. And Mike Hilton put it lightly that we're playing like shit. I mean, that's obvious. So I don't know. I kind of figured that the Bengals defense were going to have a players only meeting. We'll see what that does. We'll see what that does for their performance on Sunday Night Football. The Bengals are slowly but surely getting healthy on defense. Unfortunately, they lost Dax Hill to a torn ACL they suffered against the Ravens. But they're all getting Sheldon Rankins back, which is good when it comes to hopefully containing the run defense. They did a good job against Henry, but I just feel like the Bengals' run defense is still not a good unit. So having Rankins back out there could help. Myles Murphy getting back in the swings, because last Sunday was his first game back because he had his knee problem that he had during training camp that kept him out for 6 weeks. But that was a good thing to have Myles Murphy back, and hopefully he can help create some pressure in the pass rush, because let's face it, the Bengals' pass rush is very non-existent, to say the least. So they're getting healthy on the injury front when it comes to the defensive side. They need that desperately. Mike Gesicki had a hamstring injury. Zach Moss had a foot injury. They both didn't practice on Wednesday, but they were back out there on Thursday, today, as we record this video on YouTube. So that's good news. So hopefully those two will be out there for the offense on Sunday Night Football. Here's the thing, guys. Here are the keys of victory for the Bengals. The offense, I believe, have to start fast. It didn't start fast against the Ravens last Sunday. They got it going towards the end of the first half when Joe Burrow found Jamar Chase for their first explosive touchdown of 41 yards. I think the Bengals need to start fast in this football game on offense. And I think this game's going to come down to if the Bengals offensive line can protect Joe Burrow, which they have all season. But this is their first big challenge against the Giants defensive line. Like I said, it's led by Dexter Lawrence. So the Bengals have to protect Joe in this football game. Also, can the defense put together a game like they did against the Patriots in week 1 and against the Chiefs in week 2? It's like they're capable of having a solid football game. They stopped Patrick Mahomes which I wasn't expecting that. It's like they're getting reinforcements back. I believe they can do it, but Lamar Jackson torched them, and he's a great football player, and he was unbelievable last Sunday at Paycor Stadium. But if I'm Daniel Jones, this is such a great opportunity for yourself on primetime TV to show out and tell the world that, hey, this year I'm different, and I'm here to just tell the world and to all the naysayers that, listen, man, I'm Daniel Jones and I'm worth all that money. But then again, he has a really good agent, just like Kirk Cousins. I believe the Bengals defense, I believe they can have a good football game. Now, is it going to happen? Probably not. But I think having Mike Hilton back, having BJ Hill back in the form, Miles Murphy, Sheldon Rankins, it could. I'm not very, what's the word I'm looking for? I am not optimistic on that front, okay? But they can put up they can play a good football game. If they can at least just not give up 30 points, if they can hold the Giants to under 30 points and let the Bengals offense do its thing, which has been doing all football season, then yes, I can see it happening. But I'm very, 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 there's little hope on that front. And can you blame a guy that has watched his Bengals defense over the first 5 games of the season? I'm just saying. Stopping the run and also preventing explosive pass plays in the air. That's for my goal for the defense, is not to do that. Also, the Bengals offense need to capitalize in the red zone. They've been doing a good job with the last 2 games as well. I believe this game is going to come down to the trenches between the Bengals offensive line and the Giants defensive line. If the Bengals can win up front in the offensive line, then they're going to win this football game. Because if the Giants get to Joe Burrow, if the Giants hit Joe Burrow or pressure him or hurry him, then this football game is going to get very interesting. I still think this game is going to be close. I think this game is going to come down to who's the better quarterback. Obviously, it's Joe Burrow, but I am not disrespecting Daniel Jones because he is actually having a really good football season so far through 5 games. But I think the trenches is going to win this football game. Right now, if you're a betting person, the line is -3.5 in favor of the Cincinnati Bengals, and the total is 47.5. So if I'm a betting person, I will take the over 47.5. -3.5. Man, that's tough right there. It's going to be a close football game. I just think that the Bengals have the better offense, and the Giants don't have Malik Neighbors out there, then if this game does become a shootout, that favors Cincinnati because the Bengals have Jamar Chase, T. Higgins. They have Chase Brown, Zach Moss if he is healthy enough to play on Sunday Night Football. Bengals have that advantage on the offensive side. Now, if it becomes a defensive slugfest, which I don't see that happening, but say if it does, then that means that the Giants are getting after Joe Burrow and just hitting him, and the Bengals defense is playing their best performance of the whole season. That's the only way I can see this game being a defensive slugfest. If the Bengals are pressuring Daniel Jones and also forcing turnovers. I know Daniel Jones only has 3 picks, but if you look at his football career, he is prone to turning the ball over. So if the Bengals defense can create turnovers, which they did on Sunday against the Ravens, they got that fumble. But obviously the play calling and the missed kick and the bobble snap and the bad snap, all that stuff, we won't even talk about that. We're on the New York Football Giants. But the Bengals defense can at least create 2 turnovers in this game, and the offense capitalize the turnovers the Bengals defense hopefully get in this game into points and into touchdowns. Bengals are winning this football game. Listen, it's a must win. Am I optimistic? I don't know if I'm there. It's going to be a good football game. The Bengals can win this game, okay? They can go to 2-4 on the season, but if they somehow lose and drop to 1-5, then Monday morning or Tuesday morning in the Cincinnati Bengals facilities are not going to be fun. I'm not saying that anyone's going to get fired, but I believe that there's going to be lots of talks and there could be changes. And obviously, I went off on the podcast on Zach Taylor, went off on the defense, and I defended Lou Anarumo, but he is part of the blame for the Bengals' just bad historic defensive numbers in franchise history so far. The yards have been given up, etc. But I don't wish for anyone to get fired. It's just that this football team is too talented to be where they're at right now at 1-4. I know people in the media are saying this is the best 1-4 football team in the NFL. I don't take that as a compliment. I take that as you should be at least 3-2 or 4-1 right now. Okay? You're a football team that should have not lost to the Patriots in week 1. I know not having T. Higgins and not knowing Jamar Chase was going to play in that game during that whole week because of his whole contract situation with the front office and not having T. Higgins out there ruined the game plan for that game. But however, you see the New England Patriots, right now they're turning to Drake May as their quarterback to start on Sunday. Jacoby Brissett played like shit against the Bengals, but his game plan was to just do whatever he can and run the football. Mobile quarterbacks, for some reason, just hurts this Bengals defense. Even though Jacoby Brissett didn't go Lamar Jackson mode, he was able to do enough to win that football game. And like I talked about Daniel Jones being a good running quarterback, that's going to be key for the Bengals is to contain Daniel Jones when it comes to him running the football because he's actually a really decent runner. You don't score 33 points at Monday Night Football at home and lose. You don't score 38 points against your divisional rival at home and lose. And then the 4th and 16 pass interference week 2 against the Chiefs. Yeah, but your quarterback in Joe Burrow, who's been amazing this year, he fumbled it, and then the Chiefs player returning for a touchdown. That was a turning point of the game. So we talk about 4th and 16. That should have never came down to that point. So there's a lot of things these first 5 games of the season that have not gone the Bengals' way. If they can somehow win this football game on Sunday, then you go to Cleveland. The Browns are a mess. They're a bad offense. That whole organization is just a dumpster fire. But for some reason in the Joe Burrow era, the Browns just know how to beat the Bengals and just make Joe Burrow look like Gus Frerotte out there. And then you play. Oh, there goes my sign. What's going to happen? I love it. But then you play the Raiders. No, you play the Eagles at home and you play the Raiders at home. Those are 2 winnable football games. So if you beat the Giants, you beat the Browns, you beat the Eagles, you beat the Raiders, that's a 4-game winning streak, and you're over 500 for the first time this season. But you have to win on Sunday against the Giants. If you don't, then it's going to get ugly, meaning there's going to be a lot of talks, and Zach Taylor, the Bengals head football coach, could he lose the locker room if they lose against the Giants? He might. But they're remaining positive, they're remaining hopeful just because of who they got on this football team and also what the offense is doing these first 5 games. The defense can show up and they don't have to be great, but they just have to not stink out there. They can just be at least average and not allow 30 points. Like I said, under 30 points the defense can allow in this football game, then I have a good feeling the Bengals are going to win this game. But if they allow over 30 points to the Giants, it's going to be tough because the offense, as great as it is the first 5 games of the season, scoring 30 plus points every single game is not sustainable at all. Okay? As great as Joe Burrow is, as great as Jamar Chase and T. Higgins are, and as great as this offensive line has been this season, they're going to have a game, and it could happen on Sunday Night Football this week. they're going to have a game where the offense doesn't do a lot or they struggle, and the defense has to save their butts because the offense has been doing that all season long. Well, defense saved the offense in the first game against the Patriots. That's pretty much been it. It's going to happen. So I hope the Bengals defense shows up in this football game on Sunday night. Okay, I appreciate you guys watching this episode of me just previewing the Bengals and Giants and my keys to victory, hopefully for our Cincinnati Bengals. Subscribe. Listen, I do podcasts, but I'm trying to get into this YouTube thing. I think just because everyone is on YouTube and everybody does listen to podcast episodes on YouTube. So I do post the podcast episodes on this YouTube channel. So subscribe. I greatly appreciate it. I appreciate all my day one followers and my new followers. Turn on your post notifications whenever a new video drops. And I will be here Sunday night talking after the game, instant reaction podcast. Or hell, I might even go to YouTube and do an instant reaction video. But more likely, I'm just going to go to the podcast. But I will talk about this football game on YouTube next week. So, Houday, let's hope the Bengals win on Sunday and we just take it one game at a time. You guys have a great weekend, and I'm out. Peace.